Back to another episode of the KB Show. We've got Ash with us. She's a girl from Hit Like a Girl.
That's right.
Super excited to have her on. Very inspirational story that's about to come up. So I'll introduce her and let her take the mic as she fills us in on how you got to this journey. Just a little bit of the backstory. Obviously, we're going to touch on the inspiration and stuff behind Hit Like a Girl and stuff like that. But just a little bit of your backstory to how you got into fitness and...
Yeah, cool. So I didn't initially start in fitness. I've always been a pretty sporty kid. And I sort of worked in, well, not sort of worked, I worked in HR in fashion for many years.
Okay. And
that was my passion at the time. Like I think something that's a core value of mine is helping others. And so in my corporate role in fashion, I mean, HR especially, you're a bit of a therapist. So I was helping people sort of with their motivation. I did a lot of health and wellbeing, but I've always been super into fitness and health, like from being a young child. I was a swimmer, so I was like a national swimmer up until I was about 18. And I've also always done karate, or it's like a mixed martial arts that I started when I was about 5 years old.
Cool.
And I was really drawn to that as a little girl. I wouldn't say aggressive, but I was like quite a like tomboyish kind of little girl.
You didn't mind like jumping in and getting a few hits here and there.
No, I used to fight boys in the playground.
Just show off some moves and that.
I felt like the role that I kind of played as a little girl was a bit of a protector. So I protected my younger brother. If there was any other girls getting bullied in the playground, I kind of stepped in. And then I was just really drawn to combat sport for some reason. So I started that when I was about 5 and continued it all the way through till I got a little bit more serious with swimming. Then I stopped because I started having amateur fights in kickboxing. But I couldn't keep fighting because I kept getting injured. So then I stopped, finished my swimming career with glandular fever, stopped swimming, and then went to uni, sort of lost my way a little bit, I guess, in fitness. I didn't really do too much exercise. But then I started doing boxing again, I would probably say maybe 3.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then I started boxing, and then that really lit my fire again. Like something in my stomach was just burning, and I was like, I really missed doing the combat sport. I think there's nothing really like combat sport. I mean, I love all kinds of sport, but I think there's something really special about going into combat with another human being. It's a really vulnerable and almost intimate kind of thing that you do with another human. And there's nothing that tests you quite like it. You're very exposed when you're boxing or kickboxing because it's just you and that other person, and there's nothing you can do but fight that person. So it's something about it that's really, I don't know, like familiar or just really I enjoy about that.
Intriguing for you. It sounds like, because especially swimming as well, swimming is a very individual sport.
Totally.
And so is boxing, so is martial arts.
Yeah.
So obviously you have that internal drive. Which is, it's different for me. I've always come from team sports. Like I used to play rugby back in the day and stuff like that. So I'm always intrigued as to like how people not just find themselves in that, but like what pushes them towards wanting to do an individual sport? Was it just the mental challenge for you?
Yeah.
Obviously you have people around you and you have a good support network around you, but I know for me, like if I was on the footy field, I was gassed or anything like that. I knew I had my mate to rely on.
Totally.
That was next to me, you know what I mean? Whereas I think in a ring, it's like, if you get hit, it's just you.
Just you
like
versus
no one's
you.
coming to save you.
No one's
you know what I mean?
come.
No one's like, hey man, can I have a 5-second breather? It's like, nah, you got to be on. So I'm just intrigued. What was?
I think that it's funny. I think especially with like singular sport, individual sports, and also especially with combat, there's a kind of darkness inside you.
Yeah.
So
okay.
like, I think it's a really interesting balance of the darkness and lightness within you, because I think the self-talk that goes on, and especially when I was swimming or when I was boxing or kickboxing, I'm like super like aggressive with myself. So I'm like saying, you know, pretty, I don't know if I can swear, but pretty fucked up things in my head. Like, you know, I'm like, come on, like you're weak. Like, you know, and that's the kind of self-talk that drives me. Even when I go for a run sometimes, I'm like yelling at myself in my head. I'm like, you're a pussy. Like you can't do this. So it's like, I think that I like that battle inside my head, and I can just drive myself. I can just push myself really hard. I love that feeling.
Sounds
There's
like
nothing.
You, like enjoy that tunnel vision.
I enjoy
where
the
you can
pain.
Just,
to be
where you
honest.
can just see something and just go for it no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. I just really, and I think there's nothing more euphoric than when you've pushed yourself to your limits. That feeling afterwards, it's like addictive.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like it. It's like, and also like, you know, especially combat is like you push yourself to your limits. So you're completely gassed and you're so exhausted, but you've also got to worry about someone hitting you at the same time. It's like just, it levels you up as a human, I think.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I got goosebumps.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. Come on, I'll put the gloves on. Let's go. So what was the breakthrough for you to quit the 9 to 5 and go, this is me now?
Well, Okay, so I'll start from the beginning. So I think what happened was I was in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend and we got on The Amazing Race. So we went on that reality TV show, which was really fun, really cool. It was probably the last time they travelled properly. That was in 2019.
Yeah, that would have been, so lucky to get in just before.
So lucky.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, we went to like 8 different countries. It was amazing. It was, for use of a better word, amazing experience. I did things that I'll never do again in my life because like all the different challenges and things that we experienced was really cool. And then I think it's reality TV is super interesting because it's a very big mirror to your life. Like you never actually get camera crew and sound people on you 24/7, people watching the dynamics of whatever like partnership you go into in that show. And it was a true mirror of the way that myself and my ex-boyfriend interacted with each other, which wasn't great at times. Well, a lot of the time wasn't great. I figured out that, I figured out I was good under pressure because there's a lot of pressure in that show. You're racing for 250K and, you're racing around the world and you have to rely on your team member. And if you're not getting along, you start blaming each other, it just falls apart. So that was super interesting. And then when we aired on TV, we were arguing quite a bit on the show.
Okay,
which they loved. Obviously, it makes great TV. And we just didn't work well as a team. That's basically what it came down to. So, and then, we spoke to each other not the best either. I would probably say more so him, but anyway, but he didn't speak to me very nice. And I remember rewatching it and it was almost like a third party watching this like relationship happen. And I was like, this is just not good. And then we actually broke up 2 weeks after it. We got home. And the breakup wasn't the best either. We got into a really bad fight and the police were called and he was actually charged with a domestic violence order. And I think that was a pivotal point for me. And looking back, sometimes you look at those sort of traumatic events in your life and you're like, oh, why is this happening? I was so upset. I was like, so upset about it. But then looking back now, I'm like, it is actually the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so grateful it happened that way. I'm so grateful that we went on the show, broke up how we did and how it sort of moved on, because that is the reason why I started Hit Like a Girl, my business, because I felt super disempowered. Like, and I guess as a woman, experiencing domestic violence, so many women experience it in some way, shape or form. So when I experienced it, I was like, what is the one thing that's going to re-empower myself? And it was through combat sport. So I was like, I'm going to get back into boxing, but I'm actually going to quit my job, get out of this chapter of my life. And then I really wanted to help others and who have experienced it all. I just know women, like as a gender, need to be re-empowered. So I was like, I'm going to create a business that's based on empowering other women and men, because I also have male clients. And I want to pass that on. And then I thought the name Hit Like a Girl was just so perfect because
it is such a good name.
Yeah, so many people are like, oh, you hit like a girl. I'm like, fuck yeah, I hit like a girl. Watch me hit like a girl. So that was kind of like the theory behind it. So that's why I started it. And then as soon as I started it, it was like I'd found my calling for life. Like as soon as I quit my job, started doing content, started creating clientels, like building my community, things just started opening up. Like doors were opening. Everything fell into place. And I kind of knew, and there's a word for this, and it's called your dharma. And it's when you realize what your calling is for life and it's your path, like what you're meant to be here for. And I knew when I started, I was like, this is my dharma. I've just discovered it.
It's amazing, like those type of things. Like imagine if you didn't get on The Amazing Race and like obviously all those things didn't unfold. It's crazy to think like what sort of path you would have been on.
Yeah.
Probably would have got there maybe a little bit later. You know what I mean? I'm sort of a firm believer in it's not set for you, but you will find your way eventually. Just some things will knock you into it quicker and some things will knock you away from it quick. Like, you know what I mean? And take longer.
This podcast is brought to you by King Beats Apparel. So support the podcast by shopping King Beats. We got the first one, Not Your Average Gym. It's got a screen print on the back. And then we got the Gotcha Shake as well. I'm rocking an XL for this. I'm 95 kilos and 6'1". So jump over, support the podcast and grab yourself a shirt.
But I think it's super interesting. As you touched on, you decided to quit, but did you have a clientele before you started? So literally this was just, that's what I find amazing. Cause like I'm like, obviously I've done some PT coaching and stuff like that. And it's always such a big thing to think about, okay, let's just quit everything and just focus fully on this. It's like, hats off to you, but talk us through that journey of like, obviously just quitting your job and then you go, boom, all right, where am I to now?
Yeah,
what do I
got to a point in my role at when I was working at Camilla where I was like, I just really wasn't enjoying it anymore. And it was nothing to do with the company. I just wasn't passionate. I didn't want to be there anymore. Also the other events obviously like built into that. But I was like, I think I was like, I can't go back into corporate. I cannot go back into it. So I was at a point where I felt like I was at rock bottom, I guess, in my career. And then I was like, I know as a person, for me, I'm not going to be able, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll keep another job and just start hit like a girl on the side. But I was like, I needed to rip the Band-Aid off and just go full in, because I know that I hustle. I know I'll make money. Like, I know I'll do it. So I was like, I'm just going to go into the wild and just make money.
Have you heard that saying, burn the boats?
Yes. Yes, it's literally what I did. I burnt all the motherfucking boats and I went in and I was like, I've got to do it, because that's it.
Yeah.
And then that's why I hustled. I think that's why I was like, I'm going to make money. And also I understood social media as well. So like marketing myself, I understood how to do it.
Yeah, well, that would have been one of the helps. Obviously, you were doing marketing for Camilla.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So obviously that would have helped you to be able to promote yourself,
Yeah.
and you got the fire for it. As you said, once you started boxing, you got that fire. When you match that with passion, it's like that old saying. It's like when you prepare, good things just fall into place. You know what I mean? Preparation. There is no luck. It's just preparation and then the right timing, and then things just fall into place. And it sounds like exactly what happened with Hit Like a Girl. But it's amazing to see. And I know I've got a few friends that actually, you know, Laura Mansfield.
Yes.
Yeah. She works with you as well.
Yeah, she does.
And I know that a lot of them are super impressed and like really kind of look up to you in a way of like what you're trying to preach. And obviously you're saying that empowering more women and stuff like that, which is a hats off to you, which is amazing. And you've done some amazing events as well with them. And I was just wondering, how would you manage that through COVID and everything that's happening?
Yeah. Well, luckily I got it. We did the event in between that period where it was like the COVID spike, and then it sort of stopped and then it re-happened. I'm pretty sure, I can't really remember now, but I remember just preparing for it. I prepared for it with my good friend Nicolette, who's a nutritionist. So the idea behind the event was I just want to keep building a community, because that's kind of my goal with Hit Like a Girl, just keep building that community of people, not just women, because there's a lot of men that also come on board with it. But I really wanted to do an event that was sort of a holistic approach to people feeling empowered. So obviously the physical side was through myself in boxing. The nutritional side was through Nicolette and her experience in nutrition. And then I got my good friend Alexa to come on board too. And she gave a talk on mental health. And she's an ambassador for Livin', which is like a suicide prevention organization. And she spoke about her journey, which is like very raw and vulnerable. Like she spoke about her own sort of suicidal thoughts and her father and so forth. So I felt like people got a really well-rounded sort of event like experience, because it was like sort of 3 parts of your health. And it was pretty easy to do, to be honest. Like I think a lot of people too, our sponsors were really, they really wanted to be involved. Because like, I mean, I'm a pretty good pitcher. So I pitched out and got a few sponsors on board, and kind of everyone wants to get around female empowerment. Yeah. It's a really cool thing to, you know, get their business involved in. So it wasn't too hard. And we sold about 70 tickets, and that was my first event. And I was just so shook afterwards. I reckon me and Nicolette the next day were like, I can't believe that many people wanted to come and buy tickets off us. But it turned out really, really well. So I was really happy with it. And we're definitely going to do more. I think I'm going to do at least 2 more before the end of the year. Hopefully.
Wow, busy girl. And you've got an amateur fight coming up soon as well.
I do. I've been training. So I am boxing myself, and I've got my own coach. And hopefully I'll have a few. I want to have a few amateur fights this year. Yep. So just a couple, because I think nothing tests you more really than going into the ring. Yep. And I train so much, and I really love it. So I just really want to test myself and get in the ring.
Yeah, that's exciting. I can't wait. We're definitely going to come down to watch if that's okay.
For sure.
So how long you got now? You said you started sort of prepping for it. Obviously, you're boxing all the time, but there is sort of a bit of a difference between
going to a bit of a camp.
Yeah, going to a bit of a camp. When would you start to do that?
Probably like 6 or 7 weeks out.
Okay. So
cool. I wouldn't be drinking. I'll be training every day. And then I think I'll probably only cut a little bit of weight. I'm not gonna. I don't really need to. Yeah. I'm pretty lean as it is, so I'll probably just cut maybe a couple of kilos, and then fight maybe at like 57 kilos. And then you sort of just really focus in that time. You're obviously not going out, not drinking. Everything's just focused on that fight. I know that I'll be like that because I feel like I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to training. And I'm super excited to do it. I think the whole prep is probably the hardest bit. The fighting's the fun part.
Yeah, the fighting's the fun part. It is going to be interesting, like obviously to have to juggle your business with also prepping for that. Yep. And then obviously your boyfriend, Harry, he's professional full time. I'm curious as like what's that's going to look like. You know what I mean? He's got his thing where he's prepping for fights or whatever may be coming up, but you got to do that with a business
Totally.
and with clients.
Yeah.
And you're like, you got to be preppy as well. You know what I mean? I know what it's like to be a PT. You got to bring the energy. If you don't bring the energy, so yeah. How are you gonna manage that?
well, most of my clients know, so I'm pretty communicative with my clients. So they all know that when I'm going to prep for the fight, I'll probably cut down a little bit. I'll probably do more group classes because they're not so like taxing one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because boxing PT is obviously pretty energetic. Like I'm there holding pads and I'm doing the stuff with them, so it does drain a lot of energy. But a lot of my clients know that I'm going to fight, so they're pretty understanding about it. With Harry, though, I guess he will be probably going into camp at the same time as me.
Yeah, wow.
So he'll probably be prepping as well. And I feel like, he's very supportive of everything I do. So even I got my appendix out a couple of weeks ago, then he started training some of my clients for me, which was great. I have an Olympic boxer training.
Yeah, what a dream. They just rock up and they're like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so
starstruck to the max.
he's really supportive of everything I do and vice versa as well. Like, I'm still learning what it takes for an elite athlete like himself, what it takes for him to prep and how to support him the best that I possibly can. So it's still learning. So he's only really had one fight since I've been with him. And I guess I was a phone support with him through the Olympics. We spoke on the phone for like 4 hours a day on FaceTime. So, and that was really interesting. I felt like I was sort of on that Olympic journey with him. He would literally call me before he jumped in the ring, and straight afterwards we'd chat and debrief. But it's funny, we didn't really talk too much about
You're
boxing.
just in the walk-in.
I literally was on the FaceTime. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, so it was very interesting. I felt like I was on that journey with him, which is really special.
Yeah, how have you found obviously balancing that dynamic? It is a tough thing, like being with a professional athlete. Yeah. Obviously, there is an element of selfishness.
Massively.
But I wouldn't say it's a bad type of selfishness. No. He has to sort of do that. How have you found that, obviously, coming into this relationship?
It's interesting because I've never dated an elite athlete before, so I'm learning a lot. But Harry's like a lot of communication, which sometimes is like the bane of, it's like sometimes that's where the conflict comes and there's no communication. But I
was the worst.
Yeah,
I was just like, I got to do it because I got to do it.
Yeah, but he says that he's like, boxing is number one to him, obviously. Yeah. And I think he's always had that mindset where it's like he will sacrifice anything and everything for boxing, which is what you have to be like. It's like the number one thing. Yeah, like especially when you're at that level where it's like a global, international level. But I think he's learning how to balance the two, and he knows that like I understand being an athlete as well, because like I love sport and also I box, so I get it like the tiniest bit, I guess, compared to him. So I understand what he needs. So I think that really helps. But I think the worst part's just like the weight cutting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because people, when you're hungry, I mean, when I'm hungry, I'm fucking angry. But like, when they're cutting weight, it's just so vicious and they're dehydrated, and yeah, it's pretty intense. And I guess in a relationship, you always lash out at the people that are closest to you, your family, your girlfriend and boyfriend, whatever. So you kind of do get the brunt of it. So I experienced that in his last fight, but I mean, we pulled out okay. So we're still here.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine, like, we've got a guy that's here at the moment. His name's Jay, and he's prepping for jumping on stage. It's like a bodybuilder's IFBB, I think it is. But yeah, I couldn't imagine, like, because fighters are quite lean and they got to put in like a lot of taxing effort. Like, I'm not saying that bodybuilding isn't taxing, but it's sort of just, you jump in and do a bit of weights, but it's like you have to be fit.
Yes.
You have to do all the skill work. Yeah. So it's mentally draining as well.
Totally.
Sometimes you're getting bashed too from sparring. Yeah. So it's like, I couldn't imagine how hard it would be. And obviously, it'd be tough for you as well, obviously trying to support, but man.
He's very regimented with everything. Like, he's very structured. Like, he needs to go to bed at a certain time, eating at a certain time, drink a certain amount of water. And I'm like the opposite, because I'm like not very organized in that sense, but he's making me more organized and more hydrated because he's so hydrated. And like, I found this out too, like the last thing to hydrate in your body is your brain. So when he's dehydrated, he's not thinking. Yeah. So sometimes I'm like,
some water.
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus.
I might need some more of this. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Water break.
Yeah. But it's been good. I'm learning a lot through him, just through the way that he lives. And it's his mindset that I think that sets him apart. He's not like a typical boxer either. I probably would never date normally a boxer. It's not really my thing. I'm not really into that culture. But he's very different, because I think his whole sort of brand as a boxer is breaking stereotypes. So he's quite feminine. He's probably more feminine than me, to be honest. So he paints his nails. I mean, that's something that he did through the Olympics just to like make people start questioning his sexuality even. But he also is all about being yourself and talking vulnerably, talking about your emotions, asking for help. So it's quite good because it translates into a relationship as well. He's probably the most vulnerable guy that I've ever spoken to.
Yeah.
And he's very, like, I mean, I'd known him for 2 days and he started writing me poetry.
Absolute romantic. Jesus, he's putting
He-
everyone to
I know,
shame.
he wrote me all this poetry. I was like, damn.
James,
What?
cut this. Don't let my missus see it. Jesus Christ, I'll be writing out poems.
You should. It's real good. It worked.
No, that's good. It sounds like you balance each other out really well.
Yeah, we do.
Obviously, from you starting a business, what you've been through, you would have those masculine traits about you.
100.
Him
Yeah.
having the feminine, obviously a nice balance
Yeah.
of each other out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sort of loop back, and I know we sort of brushed over it, but
Yeah.
what was the Amazing Race like? Like, I just think, because I love panic rooms.
Yeah,
And I just
okay.
think it's like an international panic room.
It is.
Like,
Oh,
is it
100%.
literally like that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what was it
it's-
like? Just like a little bit like behind the scenes of it.
Yeah, it's way more. There's way more pressure than I thought. I was way more stressed out. You're constantly in fight or flight the whole time, like
Yeah.
constantly, and you like learn a lot about yourself, how you are under pressure, and you realize that your logical brain just goes out the window when there is pressure. There's cameras on. There's like sound crew. You got other teams coming up saying stuff to you. You learn a lot about yourself and how you act under that really hard moment. But also I got to see the world in a really different way than I ever will ever. Like I was doing such weird stuff. Like I remember one pinnacle moment for me was I was running through the desert in Mongolia in Ulaanbaatar, and I had like a camel like on a rope, and I had a compass, and I had to find my way through these like sand dunes with a camel, and Sid was on the camel, and I'm like trying to figure out like 500 meters this way, and then the fucking compass broke, and I was like, oh God, all I remember is the sun like sets in the west or something.
Head north.
Yeah. And I remember and I remember we were coming almost last. I remember sprinting so hard I could have almost vomited. And I just remember thinking, like, if I don't sprint and I don't make this, we're going to be eliminated and we're going to have to fly back to Sydney. And I just pushed myself to the absolute limit, just ran and overtook a couple of teams and got to the end. And I just remember thinking, I'm never going to do that again in my life. I'm never going to run through the desert with a camel and a compass. So it was so much fun, and like those memories I'll have forever. But I think, yeah, it's exactly how it's filmed. It's not really like any other reality TV show either.
That's I was about to say
Yeah.
that as well. Like it's different to like reality TV shows where people can maybe put on a little bit of a front,
Can't.
or you know what I mean, you can be a
Yeah.
little bit two-faced
We were a
in
little bit-
some way.
We were the villains. So
Yeah.
me and Sid were definitely the villains on the show.
Yeah.
We like turned people around, we lied, we cheated, we stole. I stole from like the nuns. Got
Yeah.
slammed on social media for that. It was fun. But we definitely played a role, but we were also pretty much our true selves. And you kind of forget the cameras are there.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
like as you said, you're pretty much in fight or flight mode the whole time. So generally when you're in that state, your true self is
Yes.
just coming out. You're just like firing here and there, and
Yeah.
you're just, as you said, trying to figure things out. But
Yeah.
I think it's that would probably be one of my ones I would do.
Yeah.
If I was to do a
It's
reality
the best
TV show, I reckon Amazing Race. Maybe what's the one that Sambo
Survivor?
just won? No,
Survivor.
just won.
SAS.
SAS.
Yeah, that looks fun.
That looks sick.
Definitely. I'm going to try and convince Harry to go on that. I think they'll want to win that because they had boxes on that last time.
Yeah, he'll be good because
Yeah.
it's very much similar to the way of like how you were talking about before with the tunnel vision.
Yes.
Like he'd have the same sort of thing being an individual athlete, and you just got to put that on and just go. Obviously, there is a little bit of a teamwork aspect to it, but it's very much just like being able to push yourself because at the end of the day, it's only one person that wins, isn't it? But
True.
yeah, that's cool. Like I think Amazing Race would be sick.
It
I
is.
love panic rooms.
Well,
So
yeah.
fuck, I'm all about it.
It is a panic room, but it's good too because it's like, but it really tests your mental capability because when you finish the leg, you go back into your hotel room and you have nothing. You don't have a phone. My phone was in Sydney for the whole 5 weeks they were on the show. You have no TV, no books. You have nothing. It's just you and the person. So any shit that comes up in the day, it's kind of like it stays with you the whole time. You have no distractions.
Yep.
So it's almost like you get tortured a little bit through the night and like you have minimal sleep too. And then the next day you're on and like you got to let go of the stuff the day before because if you bring it into the next day, that's what slows you down.
Yeah.
So it tests your mental capability for sure.
How long were the days? Like some of the days, how long were
Oh,
they?
huge days.
Yeah.
Depended how long you took like to complete the
that's
leg.
true, yeah.
So sometimes it could be short if you were really fast and you were good, but some days they were like 12 to 14 hours and then you had to get up at like 4 a.m. the next day. But you also had to do all the filming and the story work and like all the interviews afterwards. So yeah, it was very, very exhausting. You had weird food times. Like your body was all out of whack, but they want it to be like that.
Yeah.
Because it creates conflict.
Yeah, well, you're constantly pretty much jet lagged the whole time.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I didn't feel jet lag. I just felt like a mild level of tiredness the whole time. And we went from like different continents all the time. And I was kind of like, is jet lag just a mindset? Because I didn't feel jet lagged.
Yeah, well, it could be.
Yeah.
Well, as you spoke about, you're sort of in a fight or flight mode.
Yeah,
So adrenaline's just pumping the whole time. You just like wake up, boing, let's go straight into it.
Yeah, no, it was good. I loved it. I would definitely do it again. If I had an All-Stars, I'd go back on it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll ever sort of be the same, but hopefully it does get back to that. Obviously, with like COVID check-ins and all you got to do, but that's a whole nother realm just there. Yeah. I just wanted to loop back and talk about like obviously your inspiration behind Hit Like a Girl. So we sort of briefly touched on it. Yep. Empowering women. Is that the why behind what you do? The empowering. Sure. Obviously, you spoke about you love helping people as well. So I just wanted to sort of touch on that inspiration behind it and the why behind it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my why is that I want to empower others at any level. And I think in life, when you find the way that you can help someone else, I feel like that is the core of people's existence. If we're helping others and passing on our learnings, that is sort of, then you're doing your job as a human being, I think. 100%. And that's what I feel like is mine. Like the gift I've been given is I'm a good communicator. I like teaching and I like, making other people feel good. And that's through boxing. That's sort of the way that I've done it, boxing and martial arts and self-defense. So if I can, pass on that confidence and empowerment to other people, then that's like the best thing in life. For sure. So that's kind of like my why. And every time I do something in that business, that's what I anchor it to. So am I empowering others? How am I helping others? And actually that's why I also work with the women's shelter in Burwood. It's called the Women's and Girls Emergency Centre, and I train some of their social workers, and also I train some of the women in the houses. And I remember after that, I have done it a couple of times. I'm like, when I leave those things, that feeling that you get, it's weird because it's almost like a bit of a selfish feeling because you feel so good when you do that kind of stuff. But also I really love just helping others and seeing their faces, like their sweaty cheeks when they finish and they're laughing and smiling. And I remember leaving one day, I think this is why I'm living. This is what I'm doing. I need to do this all the time.
Yeah, just touch on that the shelter bit. I'm familiar with. What do they do?
So it's an emergency centre for women that have been affected by any kind of domestic violence.
Okay.
Or they're in a situation where they have nowhere else to go. And often they have kids. So the little kiddies have like a room and the women stay there, and then the women who work there, the social workers, are trying to get them out or just helping them sort of get back on their feet. Yeah. So they're often at a point where there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So they're in a pretty dark place. And they contacted me and asked me if I wanted to come do some sessions with the social workers at first. And then they said once they got to know me, then I started doing sessions with the women in the houses because obviously they're pretty vulnerable. And boxing it's a bit weird because it's like I'm teaching boxing, but sometimes they've probably been experiencing violence as well. Yeah. So I had to be really careful on how I did that and how I ran the classes. But I also sort of paired it with breath work and meditation at the end, so to bring that energy down. Because boxing, you're very much in your masculine energy, you're really hyped up. So I always like to finish it. I do that with my sessions too. I finish it getting them more into their yin energy, which is more feminine, and lowering it, doing breath work and sort of centering themselves as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I can actually vouch for that because a lot of like clients, if I do boxing with them just in between the session and stuff like that, they do feel like a lot more empowered. Like you can tell sort of when they walk out, it's almost like their chest.
There's a spring in their step.
It's almost like their chest is a little bit puffed, and it's like, I don't know, there is definitely something to it, even if it's something as simple as just like rolling over their hands, feeling that contact.
I think for women, what I've noticed is women don't, and even as little girls, we don't act like, we're told to be more feminine. So like even if you think about school uniforms, for example, a lot of girls dress in skirts and dresses and the boys are in shorts. So it aids to how you're going to play in the playground even. Like you can't really rough and tumble in a dress. So I feel like girls as little girls don't get to have that real rough and tumble as kids. So even when we get older, being able to sit more in masculine and like punch stuff and, be more aggressive is such a good release because I think we're meant to do it. It's such a natural thing for humans. Like we probably started off like that. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the gladiators, there was so much of that, but I think women have never explored that. So to give that platform for women to be able to sit in that masculine and hit stuff and feel that confidence, that even just to be able to throw a punch gives someone a different feeling. And I feel like if you have that confidence that you can hit, or you can maybe slip a punch, you'll walk different. And then maybe that might help someone someday when they're walking down the street by themselves. Maybe they're walking a bit more confidently and maybe that predator won't attack them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just the slightest little thing, as you spoke about, slipping something might just give them that split
reaction.
second. That's all they need to sort of get away from something. And that's an amazing thing. It's funny when you see some of them though, when you come out of like, the classic example is when you come out of like a boxing match and like all the boys are like,
the
testosterone's going. It's like, you just feel like the fight could break out at any
Totally.
point.
Oh my God. I kind of hate going to boxing.
Yeah.
Because I go and watch Harry obviously, but I really don't like the crowd. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
And actually he doesn't like it either. He's like, he doesn't actually like
there's
watching boxing.
I don't think there's many people that would like the crowd at boxing. Not to mention, like, not to say there's anything wrong with the people that go there, but it's like after it and the testosterone is flowing.
Energy's high.
Yeah, energy's high. And just people just walk around the streets like this.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shoot you a question, sort of a bit random, thought I'd come up with it.
Yeah, go for it.
If money was no object,
yes,
what business venture would you start or expand? So obviously talking about hit like a girl here.
Yeah,
so if like money was no issue, what I'm talking like, would you build a building? Would you fly overseas? Would you like
sure? Oh, there's
just
so much.
Get adventurous with it. Like even if it's just crazy, like money's no object. So.
Okay. Wow. Well, I mean, what I actually want, my goal with Hit Like a Girl is to create a wellness center. So I do want a space where I have boxing, but I also want to focus on everyone's health holistically. So I'm really into meditation. I'm really into breathwork. I'm doing my breathwork course so I can be certified in that. But I want to focus on every part of someone as a whole being. So not only the physical, but the mental, but I would like to have even like a neuroscience center where people learn how to do mind hacks for when they're under pressure or stress or going through a breakup or whatever it is. So like working on their mind as well as their body. I have a recovery center as well. And then I could have merchandise. I'd build an empire out of what I'm doing so I could impact as many people as I could as possible. And then I'd love to go global with it. So I would love to do retreats overseas and sort of collab with other people in fitness, their specialities, and bring it together. And I think just sort of monopolizing that would be my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned meditation, breath work and changing your state.
Yeah.
What do you think the money is behind that? Like just for people at home, obviously it's great to sort of come out of that pumped up state as you're talking about before. But obviously there's heaps of different benefits into it. I'm interested to hear your take on it.
Yeah. Well, I started meditating probably like 7 years ago, and I try and meditate every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. I think that honestly changed me as a person, meditating. I think just being aware of your thoughts, it just impacts so many different things about your emotional state. Like we live inside our brains. Our brain is the most important organ there is. And if you can not control, because I wouldn't try and say control my thoughts, but if you can be aware of the thoughts that you're having, you just become so much more aware as a human being. And being able to control your emotions, like having your mind stronger than your emotions is totally key. And I think that once you can master that, life just kind of happens for you because you're in control of your emotions. You're not acting with that sort of illogical side of your brain. You're able to be calm and sort of see and be clear. And I think that's the best way. That's the best bit of advice I can give anyone is get quiet with yourself. So meditation does that for me. I'm able to sit with myself, and that's where the thoughts, the knowings come up in that silent space. And that's where you can kind of see clearly. If you haven't really found your passion, you don't know what you do, I would suggest getting quiet and using meditation and journaling and just being with yourself. That's the best bit.
Yeah. So for someone at home, would you recommend like once a day? What is it? 10 minutes just for someone, just sort of like a starter pack?
Yeah.
Just 10 minutes once a day?
Starter pack.
Yeah.
All right. So starter pack, I mean, I would try and do 10 minutes. Some people are like, oh, I don't have time for meditation or I'm too busy. I'm like, you are the perfect person for meditation because you're too busy.
You definitely have.
Yeah.
Everyone has time.
Exactly. Everyone has time. But so if you can't do 10 minutes, just start off doing 2 minutes. Like literally, 100%, you start doing 2 minutes a day, you'll increase it to 5, then you'll increase it to 10 and so forth. And you'll just get better and better at it. Ideally, you'd want to be doing it twice a day. I want to work my way up to doing about 20 minutes a day in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. That's like, I think I read that in Think Like a Monk with Shetty. It's really
that's supposed to be when the magic happens, when you get to like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently.
Well, my mind only really calms down after about 10 minutes of doing it. So that's when I really feel like I'm really sitting in that meditation.
Yeah. I found that as well. It's like the first little bit, I don't know like how you sort of plan out meals, but when I do, I was just like, I think of it as in like thoughts are dropping from my brain.
Oh, I like
and
that.
then like, so like it would pop up with a word and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I'll be like set sort of like an action for that and then drop out and then like it'll just keep going until like I feel like there's nothing there.
That's it.
And then it's like Zen time.
Yeah.
It's just like nothing's
all those
there
immediate
and
stresses.
it's really weird too because it's like I talk about it. I've done a podcast on this actually, and I talk about it like it's like unpacking a backpack.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we all have that backpack that like might take to the gym or work or whatever. And if you didn't clean that out for like 365 days, man, you'd just be sitting there just pulling out shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it gets heavy. You're carrying that shit everywhere.
Carrying that shit around.
Yeah.
But it's also like people say like they can't stop their thoughts and they can't like free their mind or make their mind like empty or however you want to look at it. But it's like if you've had that build up with a backpack for so long, it's like because you're sitting down and you're just trying to pull out all that shit. You've got 365 days worth of shit that you're pulling out. But if you did that, like as you're saying, once a day, it's like you can pull it out pretty quick. You can empty that backpack pretty quick. Yeah. And I find like the more that you start to meditate, the more that you can get into that a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's like a muscle.
Yeah,
exactly like
that
a muscle.
Zen state
Same thing.
very quick.
Yeah, definitely. It's changed my life, and I cannot recommend it enough for people to do. Best thing ever.
Yeah, honestly, yes, I love it. Have you read the book or any book by Joe Dispenza?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Joe Dispenza.
Which one did you read?
Yeah, the Breaking Habits of Yourself.
Yeah, Breaking Habits of Yourself.
Yeah, it's really good.
What was
He's amazing.
Superhuman.
Yeah, that's the one. I haven't read that one.
He's got some doozies like this.
He does.
They're so long. I'm like a audiobook kind of guy.
Yeah.
they're like 7 hours, 8 hours long. I'm like, Jesus.
No,
come on, Joe. Let's kind of get to the point here, mate. Let's get to the point. But it is amazing. And You Are the Placebo. Have you read that one?
No, I've heard that's really good.
Read that one because it's like it goes into how the people were doing meditations, and some people were able to like overcome their illnesses, like crazy ones. Like
what's all in your mind?
I think it's his first one because that's how it started out. I'm pretty sure it was him, and he broke his back. He was a cyclist, got hit by a car, broke his back, and then they said like you'll never walk again. He started like researching, looking at how he would be able to walk again and stuff like that, and he ended up finding something across like meditation, and he actually ended up healing himself within like 12 weeks or something.
Through visualization.
And he
I'm
was
pretty
back
sure I've
walking.
heard this story. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was him. But yeah, it's an amazing book. So anyone out there, definitely get onto the Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
You Are the Placebo.
Nice.
Well, thanks again, Ash. Thanks for coming on. You've been an absolute sport. Very, very inspirational, and it's amazing what you're doing, obviously, with women and stuff like that, empowering, getting in, hit like a girl.
Oh, yeah.
Give yourself a little plug. Where can people find you?
Okay, so you can find me. My normal Instagram is pash_, or my Hit Like a Girl page is at @hitlikeagirl__.
Yeah, and you spoke about that you got some events coming on later in the year.
I do. I will.
Do you have any locked in times?
No, not really. I'm just in talks with one of my friends, my good friend. She's actually got a podcast as well. I've done one with her, but I'm in talks with her. So hopefully do an event. It will be boxing, mindset, and Pilates, which I think every girl loves.
Yeah.
So hopefully going to do that before the end of the year. And then I might do another one. I'm just going to workshop some ideas, but I definitely want to do a couple.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned for that. Obviously, follow you on the socials, and you'll be announcing it on there for some events later in the year.
Yep.
And you do PT sessions,
I do.
Or like
So
boxing
one-on-one
sessions at Rush Cutters and
Bondi. Yeah, and then I do my group classes at the PCYC in Woolloomooloo.
Okay.
And then I also teach at Shelter, which is a group class, sort of fun boxercise class, which is in Double Bay.
Awesome. Well, if you're around those areas, guys, hit her up and enjoy. Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Goddamn, I'm feeling amazing. Damn, I'm